Hi, it's Kiffin Bates here, and today's video concerns Bitcoin miners and nodes, because I saw a question asked by someone on LinkedIn the other day asking if miners were the entities that perform the job of validation. So first, it's worth looking at what validating is in a blockchain context. And validating is simply making sure that the transactions that you are adding to the blockchain are valid, that people are not trying to double spend their Bitcoin or spend somebody else's Bitcoin. And this is done by checking digital signatures. On a blockchain, each address that holds Bitcoin should have a private key, and those Bitcoin can only be moved by digitally signing the transaction that is asking to move them. And indeed, miners do validate transactions, but not for the same reason as nodes. The nodes are the members of the network that make up Bitcoin, which transfer information to other nodes. They make sure that the whole peer-to-peer network is getting all the transactions that are flying around and all the blocks that have been created, so that the whole network is on the same page, has the same view of the truth. And so it is the nodes that are performing the validating. If a node receives a transaction that has been incorrectly signed, or is in the wrong format, or doesn't comply with the Bitcoin protocol as it currently stands, then that node will drop the transaction rather than pass it on to the other nodes. So that makes it seem to the rest of the network as though the transaction never existed. Similarly, nodes verify blocks. When a block containing a package of all the transactions arrives at a node, the node checks that the block has the right format, that all the transactions in the block are correctly digitally signed and match with what the Bitcoin ledger has in terms of accounting for the ownership of all the different Bitcoins. And if the block fails on any of the validations, then the node will just drop the block rather than transmitting it to the other nodes. So it's the nodes that ensure the integrity of the blockchain system. So why did I say that miners perform validation? Well, they are doing validation under an economic incentive. If a miner is trying to create the next block, it wants to make sure that that block is valid. And so therefore, a miner will check that the transactions that it's putting in the block are valid, and it will check that the block as a whole is valid, because if it isn't, then none of the nodes out there will accept it, and the miner will be wasting work trying to mine, i.e. trying to find the number that allows the block to become a truly valid block and be included on the blockchain if the miner is the first to find the next valid block. So for miners, validation is almost incidental. They're not validating because they want to ensure the integrity of the blockchain system. They are validating because they want to make a profit. Nodes, on the other hand, are validating purely to ensure that no invalid transactions make it onto the blockchain. So that does ask a final question, and I'll leave that one as an open one, as an exercise for the viewer. What incentivizes a node to perform this job, to validate transactions and to retransmit transactions, and to validate blocks and retransmit blocks to the rest of the peer-to-peer network? That's today's video with added question for a fun bonus. Hope you found it interesting, and I'll see you in the next video soon. Bye for now.